Okay.
Hi, we're live.
Yeah, we are live now. Hi everybody. Good evening, everyone. Good
Good
evening from
evening.
here, city of Owerri, to everybody who is going to join, or those who have already joined, and those who will later join us. Thank you for being part of this live stream. Today, we are not going to be talking about money, but something that will affect your money. All right. So, when we talk about making money, what are the foundations? What are legal foundations that can help you to make the money, help you to keep the money at the same time, help you to invest the money well? Today, we are going to be looking at how you have to set up your business on the right legal foundations. I mean, the thing is that most of us, we avoid the law basically because of what we have heard about the lawyers and what we are seeing around in our nation, where to the average layman things are being turned around based on what they call technicalities, right? So people have lost faith somehow in the law. And so when you talk about law or talk about anything legal, people are not really, really keen on. But you need them because when you run foul of the law, it will come down heavily on you. That's the truth. I mean, I never used to take law, the things that are legal seriously until I began to have certain issues in the running of my business. For example, the first one I entertained was in 2020, where someone accused me of lifting her intellectual content and give me I don't know what they call it, a summons or a lawsuit, whichever, for 10 million. And that was the first time that I had to go look for a lawyer. And that was how I found my lawyer, Ndidi Anike. And Ndidi just said to me something. She said, "Do you have all the conversations? Do you have anything documented that proves that this person is saying the wrong thing?" And I said, "Yes." And we got together all our conversations and everything. And she filed something quite comprehensive. And that was how that case just went off the radar till today. So you find out that if I hadn't documented those conversations properly through emails, who knows what must have spilled out from there. And so something as simple as having all your documentations in place is something that can give you a legal foundation in case there is a problem. And so tonight we're going to be looking at setting up your business on the right legal foundations. Are you already a business person? Are you about to start your business? This conversation tonight is critically important. And I have with me here by another legal. That's her name. And she's going to be doing justice. I love to talk to beautiful women. You can see her teeth; she's beautiful. She can her teeth are fine and white. And so don't just focus on the face, focus on what she's going to be spilling from her mouth. All right. She's going to be telling us things that have to do with legal foundations for our business. All right. So if you're joining us now, let's know where you're tuning in from. If you're in Lagos, if you are in Abuja, if you're in the US, if you're in Mexico, if you're in Cuba, let's know. If you're in India, in China, let's know in the comment section where you are tuning in from, and we will say hello to you in the course of the conversation. And secondly, invite your friends, those who are aspiring to be in business, go and tag them to be here. All right, tag them to be here to have this conversation, to enjoy this conversation, to learn from Banning the Lego. And also, please tap the share button. There's a share button beneath the screen. Tap it and share this live stream because some other individual can need this. Kingsley Emezie from the UK. Fantastic. Kingsley, good to have you. All right. Iwuji Chima tuning in from Lagos. Fantastic. Good to have you here. Go and invite your friends and family, those who are about to start businesses, those who are already in business. There's certain legal stuff that you ought to know. I mean, somehow it looks like law English is different from the normal English that we know. It's only when you fall into trouble that you find out that the English that you know in school is not actually the one that can save your
The
life.
one
I'm telling you the truth. Legal people have their own English, and it's about reading through the fine lines. Typical
Mm.
example most of us is that when we are trying to buy software or we are trying to sign a document, you see all those tiny, tiny, little print. How many of us
Mm.
actually read them? I mean, I don't have the time. I'll just scroll down to the part I agree, boom, I sign, and I move on. When there is a problem, they will bring out those things in fine print and show you and say, "This is what you signed, agree." And they say, "Oh no, I didn't know." But they say ignorance of the law is what? Is no excuse. You
It's
signed
not
it, you should have read it, you should have signed it, you should have read it correctly, and that's the problem for you. All right. So without wasting much time, because we're going to be having 30 to 45 minutes in this conversation, welcome Solomon Jacob from Ibadan. Welcome Usman Arab from Benin City. And make welcome my guest for tonight's conversation, the one and only Baranada Legal, the beautiful lady. Please welcome and take over from me and share with us how we can set up this business, our businesses on the right legal foundations. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mekanobis. Good to see you again. Um, for all of you who have joined, thank you for joining. I do hope that we'll have a wonderful time here tonight. And I hope that after now, you'll take more proactive steps towards the legal aspect of your business. So, like he has said, we're looking at how to build a business that has a solid legal foundation, right? How to put proper, I like to use the word legal structure, how to put proper legal structures in your business, how to legally bulletproof your business, how to make sure that you don't have legal issues in your business, how not to run foul of the law. Anyhow you decide to put it, the basic thing we're trying to get out of tonight's session is how to build business the right way while covering yourself legally, right? So that you don't have legal issues. That's very important. So the first thing I like to say is it doesn't matter. Today I spoke with a young lady, and she was telling me about her business, the big plan she has for her business. And she said something. It is not a physical business, it is an online business. I don't have a physical store, I'm just doing it digitally. All the services I'll be rendering are digital. And the basis on which she said that was as if to say, oh, it is not like a proper business. And I told her it is a business anyhow you look at it, right? The day you decide to run or set up a business, you already have some legal issues that have been put in place. We call it creating legal implications. Legal implications are already in place for that decision that you have made. And so it doesn't matter whether you are doing it online, whether you're doing it offline, whether you're building a personal brand, whether you're, no matter what you're doing, first and foremost, you're first a business owner. And by virtue of being a business owner, you want to ensure that actually you're doing things the right way, right? You want to ensure that you're doing things the right way. So for tonight, we're going to look at what factors or the things you need to put in place before you can say that you have a legally structured business, or before you can say that you have a business that has a solid legal foundation. And so the first thing I always tell people is the legal aspect of your business. I'm sure some of you who follow me must have even seen me written about it. The legal aspect of your business does not start and end with registering that business with the CAC. And this is why it is very funny when people say, oh, when let's say somebody gets scammed, and then you're now asking what happened, didn't you do your due diligence? And then you say things like, oh, they sent me their CAC certificate, I saw their registration number, they are registered with the CAC, I didn't know that they will not be genuine. Registering with the CAC alone will not stop anybody who wants to engage in a bad business from doing a bad business. And so, even when you're trying to verify certain information about a company, when you're trying to conduct your due diligence before going ahead with anybody, any company, the fact that a company is registered does not automatically mean that they are legit. I need us, if you don't take anything from tonight's class, I need you to take that information home, right? And so, Building a business goes beyond setting up a company with the CAC. That's like one out of the several other things that you're supposed to do as a business owner. And even when you're building, um, even when you say, okay, you understand that it's not the first thing to do, the question you want to ask is, what is the first thing to do? Like, if registering the business with CAC is not the number one thing I'm supposed to do, what is the number one thing I am supposed to do? That's what we're going to look at tonight. So tonight we're looking beyond registration, legal structure beyond registration, how to solidify your business beyond registering with the CAC. So I'm going to be asking some questions, right? And then I'll provide answers to them. These questions will serve as the basis for the discussion because they are centered generally along, how to build solid legal foundation. They are coined from one of my products, one of the classes that I am actually putting together, um, how to legal requirements for starting a business in Nigeria. And like I said, beyond registering with the CAC, there are other things. So one thing that you want to do, right? The first thing you probably want to do is to do what I call regulatory compliance check. Regulatory compliance check. And compliance regulation or regulatory compliance goes beyond registering with the CAC. In fact, it goes beyond the first phase of building your business. It's something that you're probably going to have to continue with so long as you're in business, because it is those regulations that determine whether you will remain in business or not. So, what is the first thing you want to do when an idea drops into your head? Don't hurriedly go and register the company. Even if you see anybody advertising 5,000 naira registration, I don't know how that's going to happen. Let's say they want to use their money to register for you, or you get a free offer. Please do not hurriedly go to register that company with the CAC, not just yet. So one thing is, because I have seen a situation where some people hurriedly went to do incorporation with the CAC, and then when it was time to launch or execute, they could not. They could not execute, they could not implement, they could not launch. Why? Because there was a regulatory roadblock. There was a particular compliance thing, they were regulation they were supposed to comply with, that they had not been able to. In fact, they have no idea. They did not know that there was anything like that. So you cannot wake up one morning and decide, oh, I want to set up this business. The first thing you want to do is find out what laws regulate the kind of business I am doing. What are the laws that determine the kind of business I am doing, right? What are the regulatory bodies that I need to comply with? Because it's just like how everyone is born into a family. Whether you like it or not, there are two types of regulation, and you either belong to the general compliance or you belong to the industry specific compliance, which is based on your it's based on your the nature of your business. So it is either you're complying with the CAC, you're complying with the FIRS, you're complying with the CBN. Now, FIRS, that's Federal Inland Revenue Service, CAC, um, CBN, EFCC, depending on the type of business you do, all of those are what we call general regulatory bodies, right? General regulatory bodies, they apply to you whether or not you fall under that, whether or not you belong to a particular industry. So it doesn't matter your industry. The law says if you want to do business in Nigeria, you must do what? First register that business in Nigeria. So you're going to have to now set up, comply with what the CAC says with respect to regulation, with respect to registration. Then after meeting up with CAC's requirement, you're also going to meet up with Federal Inland Revenue Service requirements, that FIRS, right? So basically, what does the law say when it comes to setting up? After you set up your business with the CAC, you need to comply with some tax registration, and that's like the first tax requirement that you're going to have to deal with. Do you know that the thing that you have, I put it out a few days ago, the thing you have on your CAC certificate is not yet active? I do company registrations for people and I tell them this thing is not yet active. If you're going to activate it, you will need to prepare some documents. You will need to bring your utility bill, make copies of your CAC documents, and then go to file with the FIRS, and then get it updated on the Tax Promax portal. There's a new portal called Tax Promax. So until you have done that, you're in default. And the law says within 6 months of setting out, every company must register with that FIRS, with that, comply with that tax regulation. So when you don't do that, you're already running foul of the law. And if tonight we're saying learn to do business the right way, or learn to build solid legal foundation in your business, and already the moment the idea dropped in your head, you just went straight to register, and you're not aware that there's other things that you're supposed to do, you're already breaching the law, and you're already in default, right? Then you have industry specific regulation. Now, if you're in the food processing company, you know that you have to comply with NAFDAC. If you're building a fintech solution, financial technology, maybe you're doing peer-to-peer lending, or you're building, you're giving out, you're doing payment solutions, right? You're helping to process payments. That's what your solution, or that's what your technology is about, the company that you're trying to build is about. Beyond registering with the CAC, you still have to register with the regulatory body in that, for that industry. That's the fintech space. And that's either CBN, what's it called, or SEC. Now, there may be other ways to still comply and not go abroad, like go above your means at the moment. That's some information that I don't want to call it classified information, but on this class, because of the limited time, I can only touch on the basics, right? So if you would like to know more than the basics for this conversation, we'll have to take it somewhere else. So, but the point I'm trying to make is, nobody starts a business and decides, oh, there's nobody that's regulating me. One way or the other, you have one regulator that decides this is what happens in this industry. So first thing you want to do is find out whether you are able to meet the industry requirements for running a particular business. That's one. Then two, you want to ask yourself, am I building this business I'm building with someone else, or am I building alone? If you're building with someone else, you know that, okay, um, there are there's something else I need to consider, right? If you're building with someone else, then there's the issue of ownership. What would this person take? Or how should we even structure the company? And that's where you're now looking at what will be the best form of registration for us. What will be the best legal structure that we need to choose? So the whole conversation I shared in my BLS group, when we're talking about legal structure, and I said that there are two ways to look at legal structure. There is the general meaning of legal structure, and then there is the deeper meaning, right? There is a contextual meaning of legal structure. Generally, we'll say, oh, legal structure is how your business was structured with the CAC at the time of registry, which is it a business name or is it a limited liability company? So if your business is a business name or a limited liability company, or a partnership, LP or LLP, I hope that's not Labour Party I called, or limited liability partnership, LLP, yes, limited liability partnership. This will be a function of certain key factors, right? That's making a decision as to which one to do, whether you want to do set up a company or set up a business name or set up a general partnership, is a function of what you want for your company and how you want your business to actually be perceived. So one of the factors to determine what kind of structure you should have, right, is, do you want your ownership stake to be evident in the company's public document? Do you want to clearly state that, oh, I have 30%, I have 40%, or you have 50%? If that is if that's your wish, then you might want to set up an actual company. However, if you now feel like, okay, I don't think I want, I just want a quick business where you can just open a corporate account. It's just me. I'm not bringing anybody on board, right? It's just a small company. Again, before you decide whether to do a business name, you also want to consider what the law says. So it takes us back to regulatory compliance, right? If the law says for this nature of this, for this particular business, so you cannot register it as a business name, it has to be a limited. That is that regulation, and you need to comply. Before you could register a school as a business name, but right now, anything that has academy, anything that has school, has to be registered as a company properly. So in making the decision whether you want to do a business name or do a limited, cost is never an issue to be considered. And even if you eventually consider cost, let it be the last thing on the list. Why? Because, like I've always said, a business name gives you little or no legal protection. It only just gives you the convenience to set up and run your business and open a corporate account. But by now, you should already know that it goes beyond just setting up a company with the CAC. There are lots of legal implications that come with building a business. So, as much as possible, you want to legally protect yourself, you want to legally secure your interest. Please, I'd like to know if you're following. I think I can see my other device, so I can actually see
Yeah,
comments
we're
at this.
here. We are following.
Okay. I want to be sure
Yeah.
that I'm not talking too fast.
Now you're fine. You're good.
Okay. So, as I was saying, you cannot just wake up and say, okay, I want to set up a business name or I want to set up. You need to consider what the law says. Then you also need to factor in whether you want to be able to attract investors in the future. So, one time, someone reached out to me and wanted me to advise him on an investment he was about to take in a company. He was about to invest in a company. And, he said he was sent an investment document, but he wanted me to, take a look at it. And I looked at it and I said, these people are not serious. First of all, there are some keywords they are using, keywords like stock, like equity, like shares, like so many keywords that are strictly relating to a company alone. And then I checked the structure that they have, right? I'm still going to talk about the second structure. I checked the particular structure they have. It's just a business name. So I told him, okay, so these people currently have a business name and they are saying that they will only you're going to be meanwhile he's not investing small money. Well, small is relative, but at least some millions of naira, right? So they're going to take that shares, that money, and then they said they would give him XYZ amount of shares. And then I asked, but this company is still registered as a business name. He does not have the legal capacity to take on equity investors, at least not in the sense that they are looking at it, right? If that they can take on an investment though, but that would be based on profit sharing formula as a partner. But what they thought of was equity investment, like I'm going to give you shares or I'm going to give you ownership stake in my company. And then they even said things like they would vest the shares, they would do, in fact, everything that is applicable to a company was what those people said. And then I'm like, so if you have this understanding that this is what you want, why is this the structure you're operating with? And then I questioned the fact that they said they were going to only be able to set up a proper company like in 3 years time. I said it does not take more than 2 days or 3 days to actually register a proper company. So why do you need to wait for like 3 years to do something that can happen in 2 days? And I told him I am not comfortable with this particular investment decision. I don't think you should go ahead. But guess what, eventually he went ahead with them because it looked to him like a good opportunity. Sometimes you advise and then you still let people take their decision by themselves and also bear the consequences of that decision. I don't know what happened to that decision, and I don't pray that it ended badly for him, but it was just not a good decision from the point of, my from my point of view. So before you can decide that, if you know that you're planning to attract equity investors in the future, please make sure that you are properly registered as a company. You cannot do that with your business name. So your business name lacks the capacity to enter into a contract. Your business name lacks the capacity um, to own assets, to own properties in its name. And if anybody were to sue your company or sue you, they would be suing you as the business. So there is no limitation of liability. There's no difference between you and the company, the business name. You're the business name and the business name is you. So when people have issues with your business, no matter how you have branded it to look, automatically they have issues with you. And the law does not protect your personal assets. And that's why if they are going to sue, they will be suing you doing business as your business name. Meanwhile, even if it is just you who is the only shareholder in your company, they will be suing the company and not necessarily you. And your personal assets are protected. So again, when you make the decision of how to register your business based on cost alone, you're eventually shooting yourself in the leg in the future. Whatever is worth doing well. Then another factor you want to consider in whether you should, structure your business as a company or as a business name is the perceived value from people. How do you want people to actually see your company in the future? How do you think people should how would people perceive your company? Basically, it doesn't matter what anybody says. Life is not all about, like, I mean, the mechanic said it. You cannot be, you make all the money, you want to also be careful and be sure that you're legally protected while making the money. If not, as you're making the money, you keep making plenty legal mistakes and you keep spending the money. That's the honest truth about it. So let's quickly look at your key stakeholders. So one of the decisions I know that a lot of people are very concerned about working with other people as co-founders or business partners, and I understand that because human beings can hardly be trusted, and people have gone through a lot of shege in the past, so their experience from the past kind of shapes the decisions they take, right, about their business. So they would rather build their business alone than involve people. But like there's something I always like to say: if you want to go far, if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go with someone. Because obviously, if you're going alone, you probably walk very fast, Abi, but you might not. You might get tired very quickly as well. But if you work with someone, you're combining your strengths. If you fall, he can lift you up, and vice versa. However, I do understand that things can go bad quickly, and that's why I want us to look at um, the key stakeholders. Who are the people who have an interest in your company, and their decisions can affect the company, vice versa, right? So obviously, the biggest mistake you can make is to think that even if you're the only shareholder in the company, that the only people who you should care about or when making a decision in the company is yourself alone. There are people who have vested interest. These people are called stakeholders, and the decisions they make can affect the company, and then the decision that the company makes can also affect them one way or the other. And so if you're able to identify who the stakeholders are, it will help you to make proactive decisions all of the time. Now, the entire purpose for identifying the stakeholders, it's not just for identification's sake. It is for you to know what to do, and it's for you to appreciate the legal issues that could come up from that relationship, and then quickly plug in the right legal step or the right legal solution that can take care of that decision even before it starts. I hope it makes sense. The reason why you need to properly be able to identify your key stakeholders is so that you can quickly appreciate the legal issues that could possibly come up, and then quickly plug in the right legal solutions to help you, make that take care of that particular situation. So let's look at who the key stakeholders of your company are. Again, I will go back to regulatory bodies. Regulators are stakeholders in a company's interest. I talked about the fact that regardless of your business, there is one regulatory body, one government body or one industry specific body or organization that determines who can enter into a particular industry or how a particular business can be operated and managed. That's regulatory bodies. So they have vested interest. Do you know, you remember GoCada, right? And all of the other ride hailing companies, especially in Lagos, they were everywhere. It only took one night and one regulatory decision to wipe all of them out. And guess what? Because of one unfavorable government policy, that particular business model kind of died, right? And for the ones that did not totally collapse, they pivoted into something else. They went into logistics and delivery. But as at when they were in vogue, right, they were properly an existing company. So with regulatory issues, right, a a legal business, a business that is actually legal, lawful, a non-illegal business can suddenly be turned or be termed illegal. So if today there is a regulation that says nobody must be doing a particular kind of business, if you're caught doing that, you'll be penalized for 100 million naira or so. Automatically that's a change in regulatory um, policy that has affected the company. So what you want to do as a business owner, remember the conversation tonight is how to build a solid legal foundation, a business that has a solid legal foundation. And I said beyond the CAC, there are legal issues you need to always be aware of. There are legal issues you always need to sort out. And so with respect to regulatory bodies, you want to always be ahead and always stay informed in case there are changes in the regulations affecting your business. Why it is important to pay attention to the changes is so that you can quickly pivot if you need to, right? And when you're building a business with other people's money and you are in a highly regulated industry, you also want to be careful how you use people's money or how you run your business, and also be mindful of the possible changes in regulatory issues so that you can quickly alert your people or quickly know what next to do. So a regulatory body or the regulators in your industry are a key stakeholder in your company. Why? Because the actions you take can affect them and the actions they take can affect you. Now, how can the action that you take as a company affect the business? So the law says after registering with the CAC, you also need to register with FIRS and get your company taxed or get your company registered for tax, right? And updated on tax promax. Now, if you do not go ahead to do that, you open up yourself for legal issues with the tax man or with the regulator. I keep using tax. Let's even leave tax. You're building a skincare brand and you know that okay, you're supposed to get a NAFDAC certification before you can go all out. All of you, you know what Very Dark Man did to skincare brands, right? You're supposed to get NAFDAC certification before you can go all out to launch. Now, because you have been unable to get that particular certification, you're not able to go all out. Even if you start, you're just starting low key. So your business is even suffering for it for lack of non-compliance. You cannot market as much as you want to. You cannot be aggressive about marketing your business as much as you want to because you haven't complied with the regulations affecting that particular industry. So the regulator is one key person to pay attention to. Then let's look at your founding team members. If you are building your company with someone else as a co-founder, then um, you want to be interested in what kind of decision they take. If you bring on board the wrong person to your company, of course, things will go wrong very quickly. You will have issues, you have ownership tussle. So, what are the possible legal issues that could come up, that could, arise with building your business with somebody else? That's why I said that when you are identifying your key stakeholders, it is not just for identification's sake, it is actually for you to be able to know that, okay, this is the particular thing that I need to do if I don't want this action to happen. So you want to study the legal issues that could come up. So if you have co-founders or business partners, what are the possible legal issues? You could have disgruntled co-founders. They are not satisfied with whatever decision you take. In fact, one time I had a particular startup that I was working with, and there were two co-founders, but they clearly told me nobody's the CEO, nobody's the COO. We are just building together. I already saw that that was bad energy. Why? Because it is very important to clearly state what each person is bringing to the table, and then identify the roles that they are playing. So if somebody is the CEO, please clearly state that you're the CEO, and clearly put the functions and the responsibilities, so that when things are not going the way they should go, you have a reference point. But if you're already telling me, no, nobody's being CEO, nobody's being CEO, we're all just building together, it creates the problem of how to track performance. Do you understand? It creates a problem of how to track performance or how to monitor progress. So if you're bringing someone on board, or if you're building with one, two, three, or four people, meanwhile building with 4 or 5 people at the same time um is not very cool. Your ideal minimum co-founders or partners should be two or three, unless you are bringing people that have very important skill sets that can help the company, and you do not have the resources to have them on board properly. So you're now giving them shares, to be a part of the company. But let's even assume that you're working with two or three persons. So the legal issues, we've identified one, which is disgruntled co-founder. You could also have another issue of a co-founder absconding at the first sight of trouble. You already know that building a business is not for the faint-hearted in Nigeria. Anything can happen anytime, right? If you might be dragging online, it might be anything. It might be regulator issues. It might be a client not fulfilling their part of the obligation after you have delivered on the job. But imagine if your co-founder, just because the company is in a tough place at the moment, decides to just abscond. So he's not interested. He just leaves you hanging. So you're the only one facing the issues. That's what happens when you're bringing people who you're not on the same page with. You're not compatible. You're not compatible. They do not share your vision. They do not share they don't you're not on the same page when it comes to how and what you want for the company. So these people, because of their lack of commitment, at the first sight of trouble, they could just abscond. So you'll be the only one to deal with the issues. Another possible legal issues that could come up with your co-founders or with your business partners. So I'm using co-founder, and it's for people who are, if you're building um, a tech-driven business, right? Um, you would ordinarily call your business partners co-founders. But if you're building a traditional business, a non-tech business, you ordinarily would say your business partner. So um, I hope that is clear. So now you want to now consider whether these people that you're bringing on board can stay with you for the long run, right? So you want to test their commitment level. And that's one of the factors to consider when bringing anybody on board. How committed are they? If they are not committed, like I said, they'll run at the first sight of trouble. And if they are too concerned about bearing a particular title rather than work, they may also not be good fit for you. So you want to establish what they are bringing to the table. And this determines what they get in terms of ownership, right? See, the conversation about choosing the right, about identifying your key stakeholders is a very broad one that cuts across different aspects, from ownership to equity split to decision making, So all of those things need to be factored into the issues that could come up. So you have, I've mentioned disgruntled co-founders, I've mentioned founders living at the first sight of trouble. I've also mentioned founders just leaving you for no reason, like they just leave with a large chunk of equity. It's not like you had a fight. It's not like, or maybe you even had a fight, right? From being disgruntled, it becomes protracted quarrel and unresolved issues, and eventually one person pulls out. But in pulling out, he doesn't willfully give back his shares to the company. He's holding on to it, and it looks like he's now holding the company hostage. So when you're reaching out, okay, let's sort out this, okay, can you give us the equity back? Mm-mm. And this is why you need to be careful, and I always say it. So that's why I wrote a book called How to Split Equity, because I know that the bulk of the issues that people have when it comes to building a business and bringing on stakeholders on equity split. And no, I do not just mean randomly splitting 50-50 or 20-40. So the issue of equity split means that you must have considered what they are bringing to the table. And in the book, I listed like about 7 to 8 different factors you want to consider, including their experience, if they've had experience working on another business before, if they have been a part of a company before, and their skill sets generally. So all those things have to be considered. And then we also now look at vesting, equity vesting or share vesting, which basically means that you can't give shares to somebody as a co-founder or as a business partner, and you will not tie it to a vesting duration. You will not say, okay, you have to stay with the company for at least 4 years before you can get 100% of your shares. So I know that TSC says take up all the shares the moment you are registering. So that now created a problem of how do we warehouse these shares? How do we keep the shares that, we're giving out? Do we just split 50-50? I have seen a lot of businesses decide to just do 50-50 because the law says take up all the shares. But there's something called warehousing of shares, and there's a right way to do that. And we talked about that in the How to Split Equity book, right? So when it comes to your co-founder, there are a lot of issues that could come up. There are so many issues that could come up. There is a class that I designed, which I hope that some of you would be a part of. I think we listed about over 10 different legal issues that could come up. So when you're even thinking about whether you want to bring somebody on board your business or not, you want to factor in, what these legal issues can be, and then what your possible response should be. So it's in a tabular form. You have the legal issues, then you have what your responses should be. See, when it comes to the legal aspects of your business, your response has to be proactive. You have to always think ahead before the issues arise, because it is your ability or your it is your, how do I put it, it is in your being proactive that you actually protect yourself. It is in your being proactive that you actually protect yourself. So if you catch yourself fighting battles in your business, you're dealing with co-founder issues, you're dealing with employee issues, which is another stakeholder, by the way, your employees. You're dealing with shareholder issues, right? You're dealing with supplier issues. Suppliers are part of your stakeholders, because if you entered into an agreement with the supplier, or you have somebody who supplies you but there was no contract at all, and then when they decide to do their own thing or supply on their own terms, or supply late, or do not even supply at all, or they supply damaged goods to you, those are legal issues, right? Or they don't even supply, they take the money and don't supply. Those are legal issues. And that's why when you're proactive in knowing what the issues can be, the issues that could arise from these relationships are, it will now help you to now say, okay, I need to have a supply contract. Okay, for my founders, because I don't want issues, I don't want a situation where tomorrow they'll take, after taking 30% shares, they will not leave, they'll say they are leaving, or they're going to start their own company and it is competing with the company that I have. We need to have a founders agreement. And it is not just about having those agreements, it is about the clauses that are in those agreements. It's about the things that are in the agreement, right? And that's why I would never be a fan of going online to download templates that you have no idea what is inside. Like Emeka Nobi said, it is English, but it's not English. It's not the same English. Let me put it that way, right? It's not the same English. Do you even know that this is a little bit of a digress, but do you know that there are two types of NDAs? There is a one-way NDA and there is a two-way NDA. NDA is non-disclosure agreement. So when you go online and download an NDA, and meanwhile, and whether you should use a one-way NDA or a, so the two-way NDA can be called a mutual NDA, which means both of you have mutual obligations to maintain confidentiality of each other's sensitive or trade secret information, right? But the one-way NDA is, it is only one person that has the obligation to keep secret the information that has been shared. So, in dealing with a particular individual stakeholder, it is a function of your bargaining power. It is a function of who calls the shots. That's what will determine whether you should be discussing a mutual NDA or you should be discussing a one-way NDA. So when you now go online and you go and download any contract and it is a mutual NDA, meanwhile, you should be stamping your foot on the ground and be calling the shots. I am the disclosing party, you're the receiving party. I'm about to tell you this information about my business. You're expected to keep it confidential. But no, you've gone online and you've gone to download a template that keeps that makes the obligation mutual, right? So I mean, there are ways to these things, and time will not permit me to keep talking and talking and talking about it. But the bulk of the conversation that I've shared with you tonight is: number one, the legal aspect of a business is not just about registering the business with the CAC. Number two, there are other factors you want to consider, and regulatory compliance is something that is always going on. So you may have complied with the initial requirement for entry. There is the requirement to continue to remain. For example, with the CAC, initial requirement is for you to register with the CAC, right? After registering with the CAC, there is the requirement to continue to file your annual returns. There's also the requirement to let the CAC know if you're about to increase your shares or if you're bringing on somebody else. Those are like regulatory issues. So regulatory issues continue to, even when the business is no more, and you always have to be in the know about changes in regulatory policies. Then I talked about choosing the right kind of structure for your company, and I said it could be business name or limited, but I emphatically said that a business name does not give you any legal protection, and the goal is to be legally protected. The reason why you have a company limited by shares is because you want to be able to protect yourself, protect your personal assets. You want to be able to buy properties in the name of the company. You want to be able to enter into contracts in the name of the company, right? And that's why you need to choose that particular kind of structure. Then I talked about looking at your stakeholders, identifying who your key stakeholders are. And I said the reason why you're even identifying them is because they have vested interest, and their interest actually um, determine what happens to the company, right? The decisions they take affect the company, and the decisions that the company takes affect the individuals. So for all the stakeholders that I mentioned, founders, employees, shareholders, suppliers, even regulatory bodies, there are at least 10 legal issues that I have identified that could happen, right, and cripple the company. Now, your knowledge of what these issues are, and there are so many, there are way more than 10 anyway. Your knowledge of what these issues are would help you be able to take a proactive decision, so that before those things arise, there's already a plug and pay. There's already, you've already put in the right structure, the right legal framework, right, to mitigate the risk of those things happening. And so when we say that you've built a business with solid legal foundation, it comes from the basis of having, thought about all the possible legal issues and taking proactive steps to actually make sure they don't happen, or that even if they happen, that the company is protected. That's basically what building a solid legal foundation is all about. Emeka Nubis, I think I'll stop here and maybe take questions. Is he here?
Yes, I'm here with you. Thank you so much, Bernada. Thank you so much. So guys, are there questions? Are there questions you would like to ask our guest for tonight regarding or she has shared regarding legal issues? So let me ask you one, basically. So I want to start out, I want to be part of someone's business, but I don't want to do limited liability company. I just want to register the thing as a. So what should we do since we cannot be I cannot be on the document as a shareholder? If we do just a business and we want to share 50-50% in this business, how what necessarily can we do? Do we set up the business and then we have a an agreement between us, like a binding legal agreement that we share 50% of the shares? I don't know.
Okay, so I'm trying to understand your question. You don't want to set up a company, but you want to go into business with someone.
Yes,
Okay, so
like
there
we
are
just
various.
register an enterprise.
You don't even have to register an enterprise. Let's say you already have. I mean, it depends on what the business is, and it depends on if it is a business that is time bound. So it's like a project that you're
No,
looking
it's
to
not.
just
It's
start.
not. It's not time bound.
It's not time bound. So are you asking in the context of you already have your own company
No,
and
we
this
don't have a
person
company. We don't have a company. We're coming together to form.
individually you don't have a company?
No, I do. She doesn't. But I'm
Okay.
thinking, okay, I want to have a business, connection with
I
this
think,
particular
yeah,
individual.
so you could do something like a joint venture, right? So you
Yes,
could both of
exactly.
your companies could come together and do the business.
She does have a company, and I don't want the product to be connected to my existing companies. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Again, if it's going to be a company or a business that would continue for the long run, it's best to set up a company together, because even if you set up a business name, it still boils down to the same thing that we talked about tonight. It's still both of you who are going to be proprietors of the business, right? So your best bet is to stay legally protected, and the only way that happens is if it is a proper company that has been set up. So if she doesn't have a company, but you have a company, but you don't want to put your company in the mix, you just want to do business with this person. So it comes back to what we're saying on regulatory compliance, complying with, okay, having this particular structure. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Okay.
So, do we have any other question, guys? All right. Before the question comes, Bernardo, there's what you are working on at the moment. Can you share with us?
Yes. So I have a product that I'm working on. It's a master class, by the way. Um, Legal requirements for setting up a business in Nigeria. And this is owing to the fact that if I put a penny to how much, if I put a price to, the number of questions I get in a day, I'm about to start a company. I need, even today, I still got at least 3 questions, right? So I decided to put up a master class where I get to teach you everything you need to know, not in the rushed manner with which we had tonight's class, where I clearly also tell you what all the legal possible risk about your key stakeholders can be, and then provide you with the necessary legal responses that you should have for each of them. And so, aside from being taking part in the master class, I'm also going to be giving you my legal documents bundle. It contains 15 different contracts and agreements that I and my team sat down to prepare, right? And then these contracts, you can actually, they've already been drafted, and they cut across different industries. So it doesn't matter if you're a food service brand, if you're into agriculture, it doesn't matter if you're just an online vendor, it applies to you. All you will need to do is edit and use for your company, right? So it doesn't matter whether you, no matter your industry, it's going to apply to you. So up to 15 of them, and they include all the onboarding documents that you need for your employees. So your contract of employment, your offer letter. You know, when I was talking about um, the stakeholders and I mentioned the employees, there are so many legal issues that could come from that mix. You know, from when you hire your first staff, you could have the issues of, you know, employees not meeting up to the expectation that you set for them. You could have employee theft. Do you know that your employees, especially the ones who make use of your social medias or who use your office gadgets, they could be using your data. So there is physical theft and there is intellectual property theft. Imagine sharing your recipe with somebody and the person is using that recipe to build a business or a brand on the side. Meanwhile, you're paying salary. That's like double jeopardy, anyhow you look at it. So you know, there is non-circumvention, non-compete agreement. There is an NDA agreement. I talked about it, and by now you already know which one is a mutual and which one is a non-mutual NDA. That's one way or two-way street NDAs. There's also a terms and condition that you could use whether for your website or whether for your um, before anybody uses your service, right? As a service provider, all you need to do is just edit and use. You also have cancellation policy. So for those of you who sell physical products and you sell online and you have people place order, so it is not by going to your Instagram bio to go and write no cancellation, no refund, no return. All of those ones don't work. What works is a proper cancellation policy that they must have read and seen. You know, when the mechanist was talking, he talked about the fact that they'll write a long list of something and they'll just ask you to go and accept. Do you know that some contracts are called take it or leave it? So even if you want your contract to be a take it or leave it kind of thing, you have to put it in your terms and condition, or you have to put it in your policies. So in the 15 legal documents bundle, you have a cancellation policy, you have a refund policy. Before somebody will say, oh, I want my money back, what are the conditions that they are going to have to meet before they can get their money back? And will they be getting all their money back, or will they get a percentage of their money, or will you be taking a cancellation policy? If you have already shipped the goods to them, right, there cannot be cancellation because it has been shipped. Except if they now say, oh, what I got is not what I expected or what I ordered, it's a different order you give to me, then you can now return. So there is a return policy as well. So I basically just sat down and thought about all the basic legal essential documents you need to have as a business owner. You know, even if you don't have your own lawyer, you could start with that. So and I put them together, including letters. So if somebody writes complaints about your brand, about your service, what are the things that you're supposed to, you know, pay attention to? I put all of that into the document. So there's a letter for how to respond to complaints and how to acknowledge the complaints, right? There's a way those things are structured. So my team and I, we've done all of that and we've put them into a bundle. And when you sign up for the masterclass, you also will be getting automatic access to those documents so that you can start to use them for your company. And even if you already have, you can benchmark them against what you have in your company. Then tonight I talked about splitting equity ownership. So if you sign up for the masterclass, I'm also going to give you the How to Split Equity book. This is like my best seller book. It is a manual if you need to understand how equity split works. If you're thinking about bringing somebody on board your company and you want to issue shares, there's no need to guess what should happen. Everything you need to know about splitting equity and, you know, allocating shares in your company is in the How to Split Equity book. So you'll be getting that as well. You're also going to be getting my compatibility test workbook. Now, the thing about me is that when I create resources and materials, they are you best believe that they are designed to help you meet a particular need, right? To sort out specific legal issues in your business. So the compatibility test workbook is for people who are considering bringing on board co-founders or business partners. Even if you're not going to be doing that today, you don't know about tomorrow. So you want to take proactive steps. I talked about being proactive. So that workbook is an actual workbook, right? And you can actually write inside a workbook. So it contains different questions and answers where you can actually just put it also contains answer prompts. So it's telling you this is the kind of response that we expect or this is what the question is saying, so that you and your co-founder or you and your partner can look at it together and be on the same page and then take action. Then you're also going to get one of my books, my all-time favorite book, Everything You Need to Know About the Legal Aspect of Your Business. So all the whole conversation about choosing the right legal structure, having on board the right business partner, you know, knowing who your key stakeholders are, everything is in there. Everything you need to know about the legal aspect of your business. That's like 5 different resources. Now, the cumulative value of everything I have put together for you, including the masterclass, which will happen on the 4th of November, that's on Saturday, 4th of November by 8 p.m., right, Nigerian time on Zoom. The cumulative value of them is actually over 100,000 naira. As a matter of fact, the people who are in my BLS, business legal structure program, they are taking part. This is part of what they are also getting. And for those of you who know how much BLS costs, BLS is like 500,000. But I'm not selling BLS to you. I'm not asking you to join BLS tonight. I'm just asking you to sign up for the legal requirements for starting up a business in Nigeria masterclass and get access to the legal documents bundle containing the 15 documents I mentioned about. I'm also asking you to get access to the How to Split Equity book and the compatibility test workbook for founders, as well as everything you need to know about the legal aspect of your business. Now, that class, this thing is giving it out for 50,000 naira. However, if you're going to take action tonight, and I'm going to put the details in the comment section, if you're going to take action between this night, this class started by 8 p.m. So let me give a 24-hour timeline. If you're going to take action and sign up for that master class between this night and 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, you will get a 20% off. So that's like 40,000 naira, right? If you take action tonight. And let me even make it a bit better for you or sweeter. Even if you know that you want to take action between this night and tomorrow, you want to take advantage of the 20% discount, right? If you know that you're okay, oh, I want to be part of those who will get 20% discount. So instead of paying 50,000, you're paying 40,000. If you even make a commitment tonight, and your commitment has to be like half of the 20%. So you make your 20,000 naira payment tonight, like as we are talking this night though, not till tomorrow morning. By tomorrow morning, you can do 40,000, right? But from tonight, between now and 12 midnight, you can pay 20,000 and you can still have access to the 40%, which means you get to pay 40,000. But after tomorrow 8 a.m., you can still get it, but you get to pay 50,000. The cumulative value for everything I've shared with you tonight is way more than 100,000. So on that note, let me put the details in the comment section for those who want to be a part of that class, the master class, and have access to all the materials that I've promised you. I'm sure if my BLS people are even here, they'll be like, Barinada, we should have just waited for this opportunity. So please, you want to take action like immediately. After 8 a.m., it goes up to 50,000 naira. You can still pay 50,000 from after 8 a.m. But if you want it to be part of the program from between now and tomorrow and get 20% off, then please take action. So I'm dropping my details in the comment section now so you can take action. So I don't know if there are any other questions. And if you have because I mean this session was temp for just 1 hour. So if you have more specific questions, the program is where you need to be. The master class is where you will have the leverage to ask all the questions that you need to ask. Please put a description when you actually pay. Put a description so that I know that okay, you're paying for the master class. So please just put master class when you're sending in your money. Okay, so I have that in the comment section. So I have that in the comment section 011 980 7258 GTB Barinada. If you pay 50, if you're paying between now and tomorrow morning 8 a.m., because this class started by 8 p.m. tonight. So I'm giving a 24-hour period for you to get 20% off. So instead of paying 50,000 naira by 8 a.m. tomorrow, by 9 a.m. tomorrow, you can actually get to pay 40,000 naira. That's 20% off. And if you know me well, you know that that is a whole lot that you're getting. You're getting the how to split equity book, you're getting the master class, access to the master class, which will happen on Zoom, and registration will only be sent to those who have paid. You're getting the compatibility test workbook, you're getting the contract bundle. If you know how much each of those contract costs, if you come to us individually to prepare that for you, you know how much you'll be paying. So you'll be getting all of that with just 40,000 naira if you take action between now and tomorrow morning. Let me see. Somebody is asking, what is the cost implication of having legal advisor? Well, I think it depends on who you are dealing with, right? It depends on who you're dealing with and on what basis you want the legal advice. Is it like on a retainer basis? Is it a one-off legal advice? People have different prices, right? And so it just basically depends. Mechanobis, you want me to read the questions, take out the questions at this time?
Yes, you can answer the questions. If you can see them, please go ahead.
Okay. Somebody is asking, a digital web agency that has only the CAC, what are the other legal documents that must be in place? Isn't that what we talked about tonight? I mean, those are what we talk about. Kachi Louis, please take advantage of the offer I just shared. You might have other documents that you will need. I mentioned terms and conditions. I mentioned cancellation policy. I mentioned privacy policy. You're also getting that as well. And like I said, these are documents that you can actually just edit and use for your business. So whether you're an agent, whether you call yourself an agency or not, you're running a business, you're running a proper company, and so you have to put in proper legal structures. So even all your onboarding documents, in case you have staff, independent contractor agreement for your non-permanent staff, full-time staff, all of those things are necessary. Apart from the generic regulatory bodies like CAC, FRS, which body regulation regulates just e-commerce businesses? E-commerce business industry in Nigeria. So there's actually no specific regulator for e-commerce businesses that I know of. Like you've said, apart from the general regulatory bodies. So comply with the general regulatory bodies and also comply with data protection, NDPR, right? So you must have your privacy, your legal pages on your website, your privacy policy, your cancellation policy, your terms and condition. Again, that's why you need to join the master class where you also have access to the legal document template that contains 15 different contracts and agreements. So with that, you're good to go. What if co-founder decides to have a business with someone else who does something similar? Again, this is why you're supposed to have conversations with yourself. So I always recommend before you bring on somebody, get to sit down with yourself and speak. That's what I call the hard talk session. And it is that hard talk session that I covered in the workbook that I talked about. All of you are asking me questions that answers are already available. Like I said, I always think ahead, right? So I already know the things that you want, or that Brian, excuse me. So I already know the things that you want, right? So that um it's easy, you're not even thinking up and down. All you need to do is just get the resources and you have everything that you need working for you. Okay, still trying to see if there's another question. I want to set up a partnership with someone, but not under business name or company registration. Are there other business structures under CAC that can capture that interest? Also, are there other things we can do to protect our rights under the partnership apart from registering the partnership? Another structure is a partnership agreement, limited liability partnership, right? Or a partnership. But with the way the structure works with CAC, you're doing that as a business name. And when choosing your category, you will now decide whether it is sole proprietorship or whether it is partnership. So it's not like it's not clearly mapped out like this is LLP or this is, you're the one that it's at the point of registration, you're either doing it as a sole proprietorship or you're bringing somebody, then it becomes a partnership. And you just need to have your partnership agreement. Okay, so I can't see any other question again. I can't see any other question again. Mechanobis, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. I was thinking you wanted to go ahead and okay. So I think there are no other questions, right?
No, I
I
can't see
think
any
we
other
have
question.
okay. I think we have exhausted. So guys, the payment is on the right there on the screen 011980725 GT Bank, but another Ihanacho. So you can go ahead and take advantage of this amazing product that she has put together for us. Is important, very, very, very important. So thank you so much, Bernarda, for
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have hosted you. Thank you, and God bless you. I look forward to our conversation again next week for another conversation
Yeah.
on the issues of business and you offering the amazing things that you offer to business people. Thank you so much. And to everybody who joined us tonight, if you joined us from outside of Nigeria, I saw somebody joining us from France or so, another individual from Canada, another person from the UK. Thank you so much for joining us. And to those who joined us and said they got value, thank you. Join us again next week. But please, most importantly, go and follow her on her Facebook. Her name is Barinada Bema. No, wait, Barinada, what? Let me see your Facebook name because I'm seeing I'm seeing different names that you put up here.
Madabema
Yeah,
Alexander. Let me type the name in the comment section.
great.
I've typed myself in the comment section. Barinada Bema Alexander.
Yes, that's what it's showing right there on the screen right now, so that they can go Barinada Bema Alexander. So follow her on Facebook and learn from her just the same way that I'm learning from her regarding the issues of legal stuff that can put your business on the right pedestal to survive and to stay on for a long time in Nigeria or any other country that we are. But I know specifically she's been speaking about legal foundations in Nigeria. Well, but for any other thing, you can also reach out to her and ask her. Please, by all means, take advantage of the offer that she has made. If you wait till tomorrow morning, the amount changes, you have yourself to blame. Thank you, everybody. This will still remain on the screen. You can come if you're joining us. You can watch the live stream again and again. Please also share on your timeline so that other individuals can partake in the conversation that we had tonight. Thank you so much, Bernarda. Good to see you. My regards
Thank
to
you.
Alex and the babies at home, and for allowing you to have the live stream. If I were at home now, I would have seen my daughter running in and come and put her face on the screen, to say hello to the people who I'm hosting, right? That's how they are. All right,
Uh,
good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good
Good
night.
night.